This is Learn It from an 80s Song. It is February and it is Black History Month. Black History Month is an annual celebration of achievement by African Americans and a time for recognizing their central role in U.S. history. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. Other countries around the world, including Canada and the United Kingdom, also devote a month to celebrating Black history. It was President Gerald Ford who officially recognized Black History Month in 1976. Calling upon the public to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history, end quote. In honor of Black History Month, I am thrilled to celebrate the achievements of Dr. Tiffany Slater. Dr. Tiffany Slater is the CEO and Senior Human Resources Consultant for HR Tailor Made, a human resources consulting company specializing in helping small businesses and nonprofit organizations manage and retain their best talent. Tiffany has over 20 years of HR experience in a variety of industries. She left her very successful career in search for a work-life balance. Through HR Tailor Made, she is able to create joyful work experiences for herself and others. She is a lifelong learner. Besides spending time with her family and friends, one of her greatest joys is sharing her experience to inspire others to push towards and reach their highest level of achievement. Welcome, Dr. Slater. It is so amazing to have you here today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yes, and this is the part of the show where we do the big reveal as to what song are we going to be talking about today. So, can I get a drum roll, please? Tiffany,
Yes.
What is the song that best resonates with the story you're going to tell us today?
My Prerogative by Bobby Brown.
Yes. Yes. And okay, true story. I've been listening to that song on repeat all morning. That's how I prepare for podcasts. And I'm dancing in my seat here.
Yes.
Bobby Brown. So, that was 1988,
Mhm.
1988. And I was a mere child.
Yes. I was in high school.
Me too. That's a true story.
Yes.
I was in high school. I'll keep it real here.
Yes.
Real. Actually, he was nominated for a Grammy. He was
Yes.
nominated for a Grammy for that song and for Best R&B, Urban Contemporary. So, and it went up to number 1 on the Billboard charts as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. So you picked a good song, I have to say.
I enjoy the song very much, and I'm sure that others will too once they start listening to it.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, but that's our very first action item for today is that you guys, listeners out there, as soon as you're done with this podcast, or even take it on pause and go listen to My Prerogative, come back, and you'll hear Tiffanys story.
Yes.
So, Dr. Slater, tell us your story.
Well, I picked My Prerogative as the song that really resonated with me as a result of my story, because I had gotten to the point in my career where I had what I thought was my dream job. And this was the job that I really, worked hard to get to. Finally got there, loved the people that I worked with, but I really didn't like the job because it kept me from seeing my children as much
Mm.
as I wanted to. I would leave in the morning when they were asleep. I would get home when they were asleep already, ready, to go to bed for the night. And it was really hard. And then, the other thing was my husband, along with having a full time career, he's also a basketball coach, a head
Mm.
girls basketball coach. And so for 5 months out of the year, I was a single mom, really.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
because he was at practice and games and all that. So, on top of this very stressful and demanding job, I had three boys because my nephew was living with us at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
I had three boys that I had that were in elementary school that I had to get home, feed, go through homework with, and get myself together because I am an introvert. So I need just give me 5 minutes of nothing
Yes.
and nobody. Just 5 minutes. And Patricia, you have boys too. You
Yep,
know that they need you every 5 minutes.
that's right.
There is no hiding space for mom
None.
in the house. I just needed, like, just give me 5 minutes as soon as we walk in the door to just breathe and gather myself, and I'm yours for the rest of the evening. I couldn't even get that. So I was so, so stressed. But I tell you what, Patricia, I got to the point where my body
Mm.
started displaying the signs of my stress. And I didn't realize that it was as stressful as my body told me it was.
Hmm.
I ended up having two surgeries back to back in different parts of my body, two different doctors. Each one of them said, "Hey, I found a growth and I need to take it out." So the first time was my thyroid. I had to have it removed because there was a growth. Didn't know if it was cancerous or not. Removed it while I was recovering from that surgery. My other doctor called and said, "Found a growth. I need
Oh,
to take it out right away."
wow.
So I went back to work for about 3 weeks in between. And I'm saying to myself, God, clearly this is stress. It's got to be stress. I am not a sickly person.
Right.
And so I said, if this is not where I'm supposed to be, I really need you to show up in a very clear way and show me
Hmm.
what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And
Hmm.
probably a week later, I got a phone call from my very first real boss.
Oh,
She's like, as a matter of fact, she lived in California at the time,
oh,
but she
wow.
was doing some consulting here in St. Louis. And she said, I met someone who owns a daycare and they want someone to help them with HR, but they want someone that has a school background. And I'm like, well, perfect, because I'm in public education right now.
Right.
So I took the opportunity to work with her while I was on leave. So it was something I could do from the bed, really. And it
Hmm.
was what I did. Just because I wanted to see, is this something that I want to do? And I loved it. I love the freedom. I love the opportunity to be creative in my own way.
Yes.
I really loved helping another female grow her business.
Wow.
So I went back to work on November 5th, 2018. And I told them June 30th is my last day. So I gave
Wow.
7 months notice.
Wow.
I did. I knew that was what I was supposed to do because how else, why else would everything line up that way?
Yes. Wow. That's incredible.
Yes. So to tie it back to the song,
Yes.
I got to the point where I said, you know what? it's my prerogative to live the life that I want to live,
Mm-hmm.
to move in my purpose or to stay in misery. Which one? What are
Right.
you? And I decided to step out on faith. I really, I told people that it was a faith walk because it
Yeah.
was entrepreneurship for anybody.
Is
It's a faith
faith.
walk.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
yeah.
So that's what I did. I said, okay, God
Mm-hmm.
told me in the Bible that you will supply every need. You told us you will give us the desires of our heart. I'm going to hold you to that promise. I'm going to
Yes.
take this faith walk. And he has not disappointed me yet.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Now, when did school fit into that? Because you went back to school to study your PhD in human resources. When
yes.
did school fit into that time period?
So, actually, I finished my PhD before I started this job.
Oh, wow.
I know I
Wait a
had a,
minute. So you were had a full-time job.
yes,
You were caring for three people, three boys.
yes, and a
Yes,
husband.
and a husband. Let's not. They all, guys,
Yes.
women out there, they all go into one group, right? The male species. So essentially, you had the four male species, and you were a full-time student.
Full time student. Well, non traditional full
Not,
time.
yeah, right.
Yes, I was
But
in a
still,
non-traditional program, which was really cool. But I wasn't in that role at the time. And
mm-hmm.
when I was in school, I had the most supportive ecosystem at work and at home.
Wow.
Um, I had to go away every 3 weeks or so. I had to go away for the weekend for school.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was amazing. My mother, my aunt, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, everybody
Yes.
pitched in, and it was awesome. It was
So good.
awesome. Yes.
Oh, congratulations on all of your
Thank you.
success
Thank
and
you.
your entrepreneurship. So tell me, how is it going? So you made the transition into your job. That would be 2019 into your HR Tailor Made.
Yes. I
And
started full time in August of 2019,
mm-hmm,
and the pandemic hit in March of
mm-hmm.
2020. Yes,
Yes.
that happened.
Yes. And then that happened. And then that pivoting to online. Yes. Yes.
Yes. And so I really unknowingly really structured my business in an online virtual way anyway.
Yes.
Um, so that was really good. COVID actually, I hesitate to say this because it's impacted so many people in a
Mm-hmm.
horrible way, but it's been good to me professionally and in terms of my business because my business has thrived in the midst of the pandemic. So I know that I am blessed in that regard.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And that's right. And for myself included, I've taken the year to educate myself and go back to school and study and been doing that full time. And I feel I also, feel such empathy for those out there that are suffering, that have lost jobs, the frontline nurses, our health, all of our healthcare providers, um, and then at the same time, trying to find like, how can I make a difference? How can I help? And I know, when we get to some sort of normalcy, people are going to need a lot from us, and I will be ready, to provide, and I am ready to provide. And, so I just feel like, how we use our time in COVID is really, we are inherently resourceful people, right?
Yes. Yes.
And how we use our time is important, how we can take this and still be of service to others during
Mhm.
this time. And it's great, Dr. Slater, that you've been able to do that and make that impact throughout this challenging time.
Yes. Yes. I just and quite frankly, Patricia, I have a habit of helping anyway. I'm not one of those people who charges for everything. You don't even have to know me, and you can send me an email. Hey, I've
Right.
got an HR question, and I will likely answer your question.
Yes.
I just believe that it's just everything doesn't have to be so complicated. I
Mm.
mean, it just doesn't. It's a
No.
question. Why not? I can help you. Um,
Right.
so yeah.
Yes. It's that we'll get to your strengths, but it's generosity and on a high level that altruism. So with that, tell us, you took the VIA strengths assessment, character strengths assessment.
Mhm.
You guys, this assessment is amazing, and I highly recommend everybody take it. It really does describe your character strengths
Mhm.
to your core. And the benefit is that, we go through life sometimes being blinded. We don't know our strengths. And by knowing our strengths, it just gives us extra tools in our toolbox to use during obstacles and to recognize whether we are truly working within our strengths and our purpose. Dr. Slater, tell us your top 10 via character strengths.
Okay. Love, spirituality, gratitude, honesty, love of learning, bravery, teamwork, fairness, appreciation of beauty and excellence, and leadership.
Tell us though how you see you've spotted those strengths in the story that you told us.
I, I mean, there are several of them I can spot. Obviously, spirituality. It was the theme throughout my transformation, if you will. Love of self, and
Yes.
love of family, also because while it was a difficult decision, it was necessary. There was no other choice for me to make.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude, I be in that because I was really grateful that my mother introduced me to God and to Christianity and to faith.
Wow.
Um, because that really has sustained me in so many ways throughout my life. And I was also very grateful for my husband's level of spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So that showed up in a lot of ways that I had not expected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Honesty. One of the things that I pride myself in is that I'm pretty honest with myself. And honestly, probably many women are harder on themselves than we deserve to be. But one of the things that I can say is I know I was not my best self at my
Mm-hmm.
last job because I was miserable. I
Right.
was miserable. So I could be honest about that.
Yes.
Love of learning, that's so easy. That's an easy
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am a lifelong learner. Who in their right mind gets a PhD?
So much work.
It is so much work, but you really do have to love to learn. Um,
Yes.
so, yes. And bravery,
Mm.
I've been dependent upon a corporate check
Mm-hmm.
forever.
Yep.
To step away from that and to step out and trust God for my
Uh-huh.
checks, that was bravery.
Yes.
Yes. And then
So interesting.
leadership. I
Mm.
think that just by taking that step, I believe that shows my children how to take charge of their lives in ways that maybe they might not have otherwise been able to be exposed to. My husband has been an entrepreneur for a while, but I don't know that would have impacted them as much as seeing their mother do the same thing.
Yes.
So,
And their choice of females for the future.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
or persons, so that's really interesting
yes.
and
So
so
hopefully,
spot on.
Yes, hopefully I've raised the bar substantially.
Yeah, I think you have. I mean, good luck. To all the ladies out there, good luck. Oh, yes. So I love your strengths. Like, and you're, I think you might be the first guest that has love as number one. And, love is the virtue is humanity.
Mhm.
And it's so fitting that you're in HR,
Yes.
you're in the right place with number one love and the virtue of humanity.
Mhm.
It's also in the very top five for life satisfaction.
Mhm.
So this research actually comes from Dr. Nemec's book. It's called Character Strengths Interventions is the name of the book.
Okay.
This is where all my research comes from. And I have been studying with him for a few months. But this particular one, love, facilitates empathy, tolerable forgiveness in relationships. So
Mhm.
it contributes to long and healthy relationships. So you've been married for quite some time, yes?
I wouldn't say quite some time, but this
Yes,
will be 13 years in August.
that's
Yeah.
that's long time that's commitment,
Yes.
and that long relationships. And I imagine you have friends from even your childhood that you still keep in touch with.
There are 6 of us, and we've been best friends since elementary and middle school.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that love is one of those that really facilitates those long lasting relationships and
Yes.
commitment.
Yes.
Um, and then gratitude is also one of your top five.
Mhm.
And it's your number two strength. And it's most associated, actually, is that right? Or is that spirituality
It's
number
number
two?
3.
Number
Spirituality is
three
number
is
2.
number two. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, that's right. And what I love about gratitude, I'll go to gratitude and then we'll go back to spirituality, is that it's most associated also with life satisfaction. That's why I had grouped them together. So you're living a nice
Yes.
life of satisfaction. And
Yes.
we'll talk about how honesty then played into that. And then also you have a meaningful life,
Mhm.
things that are, as you're going through life, you see the meaning. And then also there's a lot of psychological and physical benefits as well to practicing gratitude
Mhm.
regularly. So amazing that you see that strength. And so let's go back to spirituality.
Yes.
Spirituality is linked to altruism, and
Mhm.
you're very much about the greater good. Like even what you
Mhm.
said, audience, I'm sure you guys heard, when she said, I'll answer an email if you guys have a question because it's really about being of service. And that was just speaking right into your strength of
Mhm.
spirituality. And then
Yes.
also your spirituality and your relationship with God and faith, and then also surrounding yourself with your husband and your mom who introduced you to God. So
Yes.
definitely that deeper meaning and expansiveness
Mhm.
that spirituality brings. Um, then we go into honesty, and honesty is courage.
Yes.
That's the virtue of courage. And what's interesting with this one in particular, which I love, is, and you said it, was that for you, you had to be honest with yourself. You
Yeah.
weren't at your best. And
Mhm.
somebody who has that in their top five,
Mhm.
when you're using that strength, because that's
Mhm.
one that has strength blindness from time to time, but when you are using that strength, you're going to see that, what, I'm not living in my purpose right now. I'm not
Right.
living in my best life the way I'm in my best, right?
Mhm.
And so it's so interesting that you were able to lean into that strength to make
Mhm.
those changes.
Yes.
And yeah, so honesty, and that goes around, like you had said, bravery is in your top, leadership is
Mhm.
in your top. So I can see how all of those strengths, really helped you
Yeah.
throughout that. Amazing.
For sure. And I also think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that I'm a Libra. I'm a Libra
there's
in
then
the
there's that
truest
too.
sense.
Yes.
So
Tell
yes.
tell me about Libras. I don't know as much about
Yeah.
that.
So well, Libras, if you read about the characteristics, we are fair. We are able to see both sides of a
Mm.
situation. So if you are telling me, Tiffany, you did blah, 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 I can probably go into myself and go inward and say, you know what, she's right. And where some people may automatically say, well, no, I didn't do that. You did that. But we can see both sides of the story because we're trying to be fair. We don't like when people are mistreated.
Mm-hmm.
That does not go over well for us.
Yes.
We are very um, loyal people. We also don't suffer fools very well.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that
Yes.
is foolishness does not bode well with us. Just be honest and
Mm-hmm.
be authentic with
Mm-hmm.
us. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Isn't that interesting? And that plays right into your honesty as well.
yeah,
So it's almost like they go hand in hand. It's so interesting.
yes,
So yeah, I love this conversation, and I just encourage our listeners to take the VIA assessment, get that knowledge for yourself, and it really does show up. It shows up. And just for those that, I've actually taken this assessment twice. And what's so interesting is that, things may have shifted a little bit.
mm,
Like humor and love of learning kind of swapped spaces for
mm,
me.
mhm,
And that may have just been that I was using one strength more than the other at the time, exercising it more. But really, my top 10 were still my top 10. They just might
yeah,
shift order a little bit depending on which ones I'm leaning into more at that time. So it really is interesting how accurate it is and consistent. So
yes.
and it's free, character strength assessment. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for
uh,
introducing me to it. I am familiar with several other assessments,
yes,
and these align very well with the other assessments that I'm familiar with. So thank you.
I love leading with strengths. I love the concept of that.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, as like you touched on it earlier, that as women, we're really hard on ourselves.
We are.
And, how can we lean into, what are our attributes and how we can continue to do better and be better and have that knowledge.
Absolutely. And, as a leader, at any level of leadership, it's important that we know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And doing these assessments help us to understand where we need to lean in more.
Let's talk about an action item for our audience besides listening to Bobby Brown's My Prerogative,
Yeah.
and dancing around. um, what would be a great action item for our listeners today?
Mhm. Well, a couple things actually. I think that it's always good to pay it forward. I
Mm.
love, I haven't done this in quite a while, but being in a McDonald's line or a Starbucks line and picking up the tab for the person behind me.
Yes.
I've done it at the Waffle House before. So I just think that any way that we could put a smile on else's face right now in the midst of all of this craziness that we are experiencing, and in the midst of all the hate
Mm.
that is has gotten out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I think that putting a smile on someone else's face in that way could definitely go a long way. I think the other thing that would be awesome, find a business owned by a person of color and support them. Look for them. And I mean, there are tons, be it
Yes.
product-based business, a service-based business. I found, and I can't find it online, but this is like lipstick in here. This is
Oh
the
my
cutest
gosh. Beautiful.
thing. Like,
Yes.
and it's an African American owned business. I wish I could tell you the name of it, but I can't remember.
Yes.
But
It's so cute, guys. It's
it
shaped like a
is.
bow tie. a lipstick in a bow tie case. It's
Yes.
so awesome.
So, I mean, there's just so many things that we could do to support other people in general. But I would say, as a specific call to action, find your favorite, make it a mission to find a business that is owned by a person of color, make it your favorite.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to be on that today.
Yes.
And so thank you for that. That's perfect.
Mhm.
Especially as we're moving into, Black History Month. And, I know I'm still on cloud nine from the inauguration and just that week of celebration
Mhm.
and progress. I would say the three words that I think of are hope, unity, and progress. Like those
Absolutely.
three words.
Yes. And for me, I guess my three words would be excitement,
Mm,
progress,
yes.
and I would have to echo hope.
Yes. I
Mhm.
mean, it's and especially leading right into Black History Month. That what a gift, and it's about
Mhm.
time. And woman of color,
Yes.
also Indian, African American descent. So it's just so exciting.
And she is my sorority sister. I don't know her personally, but
Yay!
Kiwi,
Yes.
Kamala Harris.
Yes. What was the name of the sorority?
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority
Oh,
Incorporated. Yes,
yes.
AKA.
Yes. AKA. Yes, that's wonderful. What a great connection. What a great
Yes.
connection. And you are inspiring, and with your story is incredible. How you had that bravery and that honesty to really look at what you
Mhm.
were doing, and then how you could live in your purpose and taking that big step and having that faith. And I look at you, Dr. Slater, and I think of inspiration, and I was happy to have you on this episode to celebrate you today.
And can I say this to Patricia? One of the things that I didn't say, I know that a lot of people are afraid to take that step, and they have a lot of what ifs.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I fail? What if I don't make any money? I would say, what if you don't even what if you stay where you are? What if they
Yes.
lay you off? What if you get fired? Are you going to sit there and continue with the what ifs, or are you going to take a chance on yourself? I made really good money, and I had no idea that it was in God's plan to pay me more in my first year of business.
Wow.
I no idea, in a pandemic. So when I
Yes.
tell you that it is possible, it is possible.
Beautiful words there. Beautiful words. Thank you for that. I'm going to leave it at that.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Well, we need to get to the 80s trends. This is the final part of our show. Since we both were in high school in the 80s, can we take a trip down memory lane? And, what would be in your closet in
Oh
the
my
80s?
gosh. Parachute pants,
Mm,
mini skirts,
yes.
um, Chucks,
Oh, yeah.
jelly bean shoes, I guess.
Yes.
These white canvas shoes, we used to call them white girls. What did you guys call them?
I don't remember actually.
They
I
were
don't
just
know.
white canvas shoes. We got them from, I don't know, anywhere really, for
Yes.
really, really cheap. Um, what else would I have?
Well,
Mhm.
jellies. I mean, I remember the jelly shoes,
Yeah.
and nothing like, I grew up in Tennessee, so nothing like a hot, humid day, walking around and sloshing around in your jellies. Those
Yes,
little holes that are in the jellies, they don't help so much. You're still sweating.
yes,
My feet, my size 10 shoe was probably a 9.5 by the time I took them off.
yes. Well, you know what? You're speaking my language because I have a long foot too, and that drove me crazy. But my mother used to always tell me, your feet fit your body.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yes,
Exactly.
definitely.
But yes, I had leg warmers.
Yes, I love my leg warmers. I had purple
Yes.
ones. So fabulous.
I mean, we were just stylish, just all
Yeah.
the time.
And
And
there
I
was freedom, right? Did you find freedom in what you wore?
probably not as much as you did because
Okay.
even though I was stylish, I've always been conservative to a degree, just a
Yes.
little bit. So,
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Um, yeah, definitely. And I think within reason, for myself, I remember growing up and working and I got my first job at 15. And it was really because, my parents would give me just a certain amount of money to spend on clothes, very conservative amount. I grew up very middle class. Um, but I love the trend so much that I wanted to buy more. So at 15, I started working at a gas station so that I could, help fund my love of fashion and so that I could go to Goodies. It was this place called Goodies, and that I could go and buy some things that were trending.
Yes,
Which in the 80s they were just like switching every minute. It felt like it was this trend, it was that.
absolutely. Yes, it was.
So.
But it was so much fun. I remember the 80s being full of color
Mm.
and like multiple colors, not
Mhm.
just the colors of the season, but like every color in the
Yeah,
rainbow.
at one time.
Yes. Yes. And it looked good. It
It
was like,
sure
oh my
did.
gosh, that looks so good. And right
Yes.
now I would be looking like, who dropped the whole paint store on that person?
Yes, yes. And that's my favorite part about the 80s and being on this podcast is that you'll rarely see me without some sort of color because I
Yeah.
do feel like the 80s just, represented color,
Mhm.
and brightness and being
Yes.
daring. So
Yeah.
good. And then favorite shows. Did you have a favorite show?
You know what? So A Different World was my
Oh,
favorite
yes.
show. And then also too, while I'm sitting here talking to you, I remember I loved In Living Color.
Yes.
I loved it. I
Yes.
have like season one downstairs on DVD, but it was just so fun.
So fun. J
Yes.
Lo, right? And wasn't Paula Abdul on that as
Yes,
well?
she was. Yes, she
All the
was.
Fly Girls.
Yes.
Yeah,
And all the Wayans and Jim Carrey. Oh my
that's
gosh, it
right.
was so funny.
It was such a great show. I had forgotten about that one. And then, in Living Color was, not In Living Color, but you just said it, A Different World.
Different,
So
yes.
good. And that came on after what was it? Which it came on after another show that was
Wasn't it
popular.
after the Cosby Show?
Cosby Show.
Yes.
Exactly. Came on
Yes.
right after that.
Yes.
Yes, so good.
I
So
might
good.
have said that Cosby Show was my favorite, but I didn't want to
I know. I
offend.
loved the Cosby Show.
It
Like
was so
honestly.
good.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
I
It it,
feel
it
sad when I think about it.
it's such a bummer, right? To have that knowledge now. And yeah,
Yeah,
I know, but it was a great quality show. So the
it was.
writers did a great job, right? We can look at the
Thank you.
writers, we can look at the other actors on the show and
Yes,
say, wow,
yes.
outstanding.
Excellent. Yes.
Yes. And well, how do we get a hold of you via social media, via your website? We want to make sure that our listeners can get a hold of you, especially if they have any HR questions or need some help with their business.
Yeah, so I am at hrtailormade.com. That's HRTAILORMADE.com, hrtailormade.com. And I'm also at HR Tailor Made on all social media platforms. LinkedIn is my, name. Tiffany Slater, Tiffany E. Slater. There are actually three Tiffany Slaters in my family. So
Oh, wow.
I know. So I always use my middle initial to distinguish myself.
Very
Um,
good.
yeah, so that's it.
Yes, so good. Well, thanks again for for being here and for the conversation. And until next time.
Yes, thank you so much. Until next time, listen to 80s music.
Exactly. We all have our marching orders.
Yes.